I've always been fascinated with emotions, especially because it seems like a lot of people can't agree on them. Hi, my name is Lacey. I work as a mental health professional, and on this channel, I just hope to offer you something that can maybe change the way you think. Guilt is one of the emotions that people can't seem to agree on. Guilt is often defined with shame. And a lot of people say guilt is the feeling that surfaces when you've done something bad. And shame is often defined as thinking you are bad. So guilt is I've done something bad, shame is I am bad. When I would hear that, it didn't resonate with me. But for years, I just took what people said that these emotions were and just left it at that until I heard someone say that guilt was not a feeling. It was more of a judgment. Like you either did something bad or you didn't. You're either guilty or you're not guilty. But when we say, I feel guilty, we're obviously feeling something. So, what is it then? I have sat with my feelings kind of a lot, and I thought, I'm going to do my own investigating. And so, whenever I sat with what I call guilt, I noticed right away that I felt it in the same place that I feel fear, which is kind of in my stomach area, solar plexus, like this tension kind of fear feeling in my gut. And something else I noticed that kind of comes up when we say I feel guilty is that there's usually a lot of should statements involved. So if a person says I feel guilty and we're to sit down and kind of jot down all the things that they're saying to themselves, there's usually a lot of shoulds. So things like, I shouldn't have done that. I should have gone. I should have said yes. I shouldn't have said no. I should have just did what they asked. I should have been there. I should have done better. I should be doing more. These should statements, I notice, come up after a person has made a decision about something. So you can have should statements and feel guilty before a decision. You might say to yourself, I should go. I should call. I should do this. I should be there. I'm talking about the guilt that you feel after you've made a decision. What I notice about these decisions that we make, that we then feel guilty about, is that we have made these decisions from our true self. Well, in the moment, these decisions feel right to us. And so maybe that means that you set a boundary with someone, or you say no to something, or maybe you feel compelled to stand up for yourself in the moment. A lot of times this feeling that we're calling guilt, which I believe really is fear, shows up after we have honored our true self. Why does it get triggered? Why can't we just stay with these decisions that we've made? It partly gets triggered if the person you're setting a boundary with, standing up to, saying no to, they can give you a negative response, which will trigger guilt, or they may not give a response at all. Maybe their response is neutral, and that can still trigger guilt. Should statements, by the way, are cognitive distortions. So anytime you hear yourself say, I should do this, I shouldn't do that, I should do more, I should be doing more, these are unrealistic rules that we place on ourselves. Why would a person say these things to themselves? The should statements reinforces my belief that guilt is really fear, because when we're saying things that we should or shouldn't have done or should be doing, and when we hear ourselves say should statements, a lot of times it has to do with the fear of something. For example, if I have somebody in my family that something big is going on for, and something takes me away from being there for that person, and I start to say to myself, I should have been there. Part of the reason why I'm saying that to myself is likely because I'm fearful of being a bad person, fearful of being a bad friend or a sister or whatever. Guilt really seems like fear of being a bad person or making bad choices. Whenever I'm working with someone who feels guilty, almost all the time, the decision that they made before they began to feel guilty was not bad. It was something that felt right to them. But the fear came up and made them question their decision. These guilt or fearful feelings come up more so for people who don't often stand up for themselves, set boundaries, say no to things. Those of us who struggle with that may also have a fear of being rejected, disappointing others, or causing conflict in some way. So not only are we fearful of being bad people, but we're fearful of all those other things. I find it interesting because I think that we have, for some of us, we've gotten into the habit of honoring other people's feelings before our own. And so if guilt comes up after we've made a decision that feels right to us, a lot of the times the other person responds to us in a negative or a neutral way, and then their feelings become more important. And we feel guilty. We feel fearful because we've disappointed them. We feel rejected by them, and maybe it has created a little bit of conflict. Whenever I chose to kind of get in touch with those feelings and find out for myself what guilt was, I mean, by all means, please sit with your guilt and you tell me if it feels like fear. It feels like fear to me. I know that I'm not the only one that discovered this, but I feel a little bit of relief to know exactly what's going on, because then you know how to work with it. You know that should statements are coming up, and you can start to reframe those. Maybe you even decide to go a little bit deeper and figure out what other beliefs are underneath there, like fear of being rejected, disappointing others, fear of conflict, fear of being a bad person, whatever the belief is. And then you can kind of do some cognitive restructuring or some CBT to investigate those beliefs to figure out if they really are true, which usually they're not. And so you're arming yourself with information to help you the next time this happens. And I would encourage you to see where the guilt is showing up. What did you do before the guilt showed up? What kind of response did you get? And kind of just make note of it all. A lot of times when it comes to emotions and what you're feeling and why you're feeling it, knowledge is power. So the more you know, the more you get in touch with these feelings, the more you will feel in control and the less your emotions will control you. We are obviously feeling something when we say, I feel guilty. Most of the time, we haven't done anything bad. We're fearful that it's bad. And so I believe guilt is really fear. And if you really did do something bad, you're probably feeling shame or remorse, not guilt. Maybe go and see for yourself and let me know your thoughts. The more you know about what's going on here and what's going on here, the more empowered you will feel. If you've made it this far in the video, I kind of paused my videos for a little while because I wasn't really sure if they're helpful or if you guys are getting anything from what I'm sharing. So if you found this video helpful, consider liking, making a comment, and maybe even subscribing so that I can know that I'm on the right track. Thank you so much for watching.